Hey everybody, I'm going to work out the day 21 assignment. That says day 2, but it's day 21. So just follow along. If you were having trouble with this, it's not as bad as it seems. I made it so it does a bunch of tests that makes it more interesting. So right now if you run it, it's going to say part 1 and then print nothing. And then instead of printing 100 random numbers, it prints a bunch of zeros. So let's jump in. Jump down to line 11 for the start of the instructions. Line 11. Write one if statement to check if the string str has an odd length. If it does, print the last character of str. So here's the deal. I made a variable that you'll learn about later in the year called an array, and I put all these words in it. And so str is equal to one of those words at a time. It's gonna be gather, then it's gonna be others, and blah blah blah. So you don't have to worry about all that. I just want you to check str and check if it has an odd length. So if str.length, and we learned how to check if there's an odd length, you do modulo 2 is equal to 1. So what that's saying is you're dividing the length of the string by 2, and if you have a remainder of 1, then you know it's an odd length. And if it is an odd length, I want you to print the last character of the string. So you don't have to use curly brackets here, the braces, because it's just one command, system.out.println str.substring, and to get the last character, we don't know how long the string is. See, the strings are all different lengths. You do str.length minus 1. That goes to the very end of the string and goes back by 1 and grabs it. So let's make sure our program runs. Yes, so it prints a couple of letters now instead of nothing. I'm going to copy this whole block and write a second if statement to check if the string str has an even length. All right, so that's checking not 10, but 0. We're checking, hey, if str.length modulo 2 is equal to 0, then we want to print out, if we want just the first character of the string, we do 0, 1. That's how you get the first character. That's saying start at index 0 and go until 1 less than character 1. And that would be just the first character. So don't worry about my spacing here. I'm going to run it, and you'll see that I left off a parentheses. And you'll see that I made it so that it prints out Go Tigers. You didn't see that coming with all these weird words up here, did you? This is why I get paid so much money. I'm just kidding. I don't get paid that much money. Okay, so then it says 3 is on line 24, a little bit below. So let's go down to line 24. Oh, the lines are different now. Boy, I'll have to fix that. So by the time you're doing this, I will have fixed that. I'm not going to start my video over again, but this was what was line 24. I'm going to have to fix all my line references. This will just say on the next line, fill num with a random number between -8 and +8 inclusive. So to find out what we need, we're going to do int, and really should it be a random integer, not a random number. So int, and then another set of parens, math.random times, and we need the range, and then we're going to say -8 because the starting number is -8. Now the range is the top number minus the bottom number plus 1. So 8 minus -8 is 16, plus 1 is 17. So we're going to put a 17 here, and we change that line, and boom. So Go Tigers, and then there's all these numbers here. We'll assume it's good. The next problem is add an if statement here which checks if num is equal to -8. If it does, set found -8 to true. So here's the deal. I made a variable called found -8 and I set it to false. This is called a flag variable, and we set it to false before this loop runs. And then if we ever find one that is -8, we're going to set it to true. And that way we know if we found it anywhere in there. So if num equal -8, then we're going to set found negative 8 equals true. So I wrote it all in one line just so you could see that. This is the double equals because you're checking. This is a Boolean expression. This is 1 equals because we're trying to store the value true in this variable. And then I wanted you to do the same thing here, but with a positive 8. If num is equal to positive 8, then found positive 8, no spaces, equals true. So this is all inside of a loop. We'll learn about loops, before too long, but I just wrote it because that way we get 100 numbers and the assignment today is more interesting. Down to section 6, we're almost done. Write an if statement which evaluates found negative 8 and reports if the random number routine found at least one negative 8 in the random values. So I'm going to just copy this because we're going to need to type it. And here, now remember that variable found negative 8, that's a Boolean variable. And so when you have a Boolean variable in an if statement, you can just say if found negative 8. And now, granted, you could say if found negative 8 equal true. But what I wanted you to see here was you don't need to do that. It's already a Boolean. It's a Boolean. It's either true or false, and that's all that has to go in there. Either a Boolean expression, with like a greater than or an equal sign, equal sign, or just something that's already going to be true or false. Okay, I'm going to just copy that whole thing, paste it down here, and except this is positive. I can spell. Positive 8, then we found at least one positive 8. So let's run this, and with 100 random values from negative 8 to 8, we should get at least one of each. There's no guarantee, but pretty good chance we'll get one of each. So yeah, we found at least one negative 8, we found at least one positive 8. And you could go look, here's an 8, a couple negative 8s in a row, and here's a couple positive 8s in a row, oddly enough. Hey, and then I said, if this is all freaking you out, come watch this video. Awesome. Hope you agree with me, it wasn't too bad. And I said, if you want to do something extra, create a count variable before line 22, set it to 0, and add code to count how many positive 8s are found. I'll give you a hint, it's an if statement. So I'm going to just do that. So line 22, I realize now, is no longer line 22, but it was right here. So we're going to say int count equals 0. And check this out. Everywhere where we found a positive 8, we can just do braces here because we're going to have more than one line of code. So we had count equal to 0, and every time we find a positive 8, we're saying count plus plus. Remember that that adds 1 to count. And then down here, I think we should just throw it in here. Again, we're going to put the braces around that, and we know we found at least one. In fact, we found count of them. All right. So, yeah, again, I forgot the semicolon, but these things happen. In fact, we found 4 of them. So I'm not going to verify, but I'm going to go ahead and believe it. I see 1. Oh, 2. Yeah, I'm sure. It's a computer. It should be doing it. That's it. And that last part was optional. I'll see you guys on Friday. Hope you're having a good week.